In 2016, the day after the election, my phone rang. And it was an old friend of mine from Colorado. He goes, "Ken, you got to get the band back together."
At the height of the 80s, 6 lifelong pals from southeastern Connecticut formed a band called New Johnny 5. For a while, it worked stratospherically beyond their expectations, as in about as close to stardom as you can get. 28 years after their last gig, vocalist, guitarist, and songwriter Ken Atkins got unexpected and unrelated phone calls that tossed New Johnny 5's musical history into spin cycle. He heard from the band's lead guitarist, Ken Nash.
He called me up and said, "Yeah, I've been jamming with, doing some of the old New Johnny 5 songs, and it's kind of cool, man. You got to think about maybe, we do a little thing and do something." And I was like, yeah, man, maybe,
Coincidentally, he then heard from New Johnny 5 percussionist vocalist Chris MacKay.
And he's going, "Hey, I know what you're going to say, but, Bill Dumas got this thing going on. He wants to get bands of the L&G." And immediately I said, "Yeah, I'll do that."
At the inception of New Johnny 5, new wave, punk, synth pop, and pub rock marinated the ears of music fans across the universe.
We were, at the time, trying to put together like a cover band.
Yeah,
And he decided, hell with this.
I couldn't play Hotel California to save my life.
It's not accurate to say New Johnny 5 had any blueprint for the future. They skirted the cover band circuit because, frankly, it might be too hard. Instead, they proved adept at writing original songs, innate and hooky fusions with a genetic structure that reflected bits of the Clash, Talking Heads, and the Romantics.
We were constantly surprised. I mean, we started doing it. We didn't start off thinking that, we just wanted to have a band, But then, as things started to go like this, and you get a phone call, next thing you know, you're opening up for somebody.
Here's a good one. This is one of our claims to fame. New Johnny 5 rocks, Crenshaw rolls. We opened up for Marshall Crenshaw and we blew him off the stage.
The gigs grew more lucrative and spread geographically. Self-released albums like Enough Is Enough Is Enough and Alternative Tactics resonated, and management outfits and record labels started hovering. New Johnny 5 found themselves opening shows for some of the biggest bands of the day. Acts like Tears for Fears, Culture Club, In Excess.
One time we had somebody that was courting us that was giving us tour buses, and so we had these big Silver Eagles, and I lived in Uncasville at the time, and a Silver Eagle comes driving up the road, turns around.
They picked us up individually, every one of us, along the way.
And crazy. Take us down to New York. We'd play at Studio 54, and I can remember we had Geffen Records interested.
And we all did this we all worked, too.
Yeah.
So, there was times where we'd drive straight from
24-hour days all the time.
Upstate New York, and they'd drive me right up. I'd get dropped off at work.
Showing up with work with the eyeliner and the mascara and everything on.
Yeah, we went through that stage.
We played at places where they had a huge 1,000-watt spotlight on you, and you had to do stuff. You had to play the game, And of course, we loved it.
As intoxicating as these developments were, there were moments of joy and purity that had nothing to do with label deals or wild good times or the idea of MTV-branded stardom.
I can remember being on stage at Toad's Place, and we played a song, I think it was Backwards Onwards was the song, and I'm playing a song, Ken Nash is playing the lead, and I'm thinking to myself, it doesn't get better than this. This moment, you gotta just love it. Just sit there and let it soak in, and I never forgot that.
I remember we played at the Hartford Civic Center, and I remember seeing a bunch of shows there, and you look up and you see the little square door with the light where the concourse goes around, and everybody. And I remember I got on the stage, and when we finished playing, we were warming up the Culture Club, and I said, I'm stuck behind a drum, so I got up and I walked right to the edge of the stage, and I stood right there, and I just soaked it all. I looked at everybody cheering, and I looked way up and I see the people walking by that little white door.
I actually took a picture.
Yesterday.
I took a Polaroid picture of the crowd before I went off the stage. It's in that little
You got a
scrapbook.
picture?
Yeah.
That's like the only picture.
What happens more often than not is time, with a capital T. One day, after a decade, reality creeped into the room. Art, fashion, music, it all changes. You can either try to keep up, which often rings hollowly, or...
It's a little cloudy, but the 90s come rolling up, and we'd, you know, the guys that have been in the band the longest had done it for 10 years. And, it wasn't a hardcore breakup or anything, we just stopped booking gigs.
Music that was being popular changed.
Yeah, the 90s were coming in,
You know what I mean?
shifting.
That changed a lot.
Yeah. Well, the grunge thing was coming in, that's what I was looking at, and I could tell, it was like, things are changing.
And rap.
And yeah, it was a lot different. And that grunge thing, I remember it coming on and going like, you know what? I'm not feeling that. And you gotta just like, time to move on.
The thing is, artists evolve too. Members of New Johnny 5 are still very musically active in popular bands like Honky Tonk Kind, Hellbent and Heartbreaking, and the Tone Shifters. They've never stopped playing or learning.
We're not trying to replicate the 80s. We're really not. We're doing those songs, and we're approaching them from where we are now.
It's a little more focused and concise, so to speak.
Concise is perfect. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, because we look back, looking back, some of those songs, are literally 5-10 minutes long. Who does that?
Red light stops, traffic jam my brake. One more hit.
New Johnny 5 will perform their musical legacy the only way they know how, not in rote recitation of the past, but in homage to those songs as realized through the ongoing celebration of their individual and collective musical journeys.
Most of us are 60 years old. And to me, when I say that, it blows my mind, because we certainly, inside, I don't necessarily equate with that too much, you know what I mean?
I see it in a song.
And here we are, how lucky are we? Man, we're literally six childhood friends, that had a fantastic journey, we really did. And now, 28 years later, from just walking off the stage that night, we're gonna do it again, and we feel good about it.